Check it out! I know that I don't understand.
Welcome. Day 3, Urban Action Showcase and Expo Virtual Experience 2021. And as I promised, it's raining Blackfire. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us this afternoon, the incomparable Damaris Lewis. Miss Lewis, thank you so much for joining us.
Gosh, thanks for having me.
Your presence is so much needed in the superhero and action genre, and you have you shook it up and shook it out and shook it around. And you do what we do.
That's what I do.
You know what I'm saying? And we can't help but love it and appreciate it. And I'm just so excited for all the young ladies around the world who are able to see a representation of themselves.
Yes.
A reflection of themselves, and most of all, a heroic reflection of themselves in mainstream media. So I got your back, girl. So if I need to call anybody up at Warner Media, I got their number.
They did me well, and I'm also from Brooklyn, so
Brooklyn in the house, y'all.
Strong, and I'm West Indian, so.
You got backup everywhere. Got backup everywhere. Okay, well, let's get into it because we don't have a lot of time. Okay. So Blackfire in the comics is essentially an evil person and one who embodies a few dangerous stereotypes for Black women. So how did you avoid playing the character as the angry, quote, aggressive, untrustworthy individual that she seems to be in the comics?
Great question. I think to answer this question, we actually have to go back. And for so many stereotypes, I believe that stereotypes exist because we don't know where they start, right? So for me, it's not about canceling emotions from her. I think a lot of us, especially in the community, feel like, especially these days, that we can't be those things, right? You don't want to be too angry. You don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be labeled that way. But with Blackfire, what I did was not necessarily choose not to show those emotions, but instead I chose to show why she felt that way, right? And I think that that's really the heart of the villain. You don't know how they became that way, but they weren't born that way. None of us are born a villain. So I think for Black women in general, what's important outside of the media, outside of TV shows, is for ourselves to really take the time and figure out why we feel this way, right? So that's what I did. I asked myself, why was Blackfire angry? Why was Blackfire aggressive? Why was she this? Why was she that? And then I came to a decision that, you know what? It's better for me to show than to say. Excuse me if there's a train. But it's better for me to show than to say why she was feeling that way. And I think that universally, right? Like, I also had to think about the fans who are in countries that have the same skin color as me, but don't walk around every single day identifying themselves as a color, right? So in Brazil, I'd say I was Brazilian, right? In Portugal, if I had the skin tone, right, I'd say I was Portuguese. In different parts of Africa, in every part of Africa, I'd be Senegalese or Nigerian, right? And so I wanted to ensure with Blackfire that we understood that Blackness has no bounds. That if you're going to use the term Black to describe a person, first you have to understand that it is a complex word. It is not a singular word. And so that's kind of how I chose to approach the character. And you know, the thing I also had to realize is some people are going to take it that way anyway, right? Because all of us have different enemies in our head. So no matter what I do, somebody might see me as angry. No matter what I do, somebody might see me as aggressive. That's not on me. All I can do is be the best version of myself. And if that's how they want to think, great. Just don't do anything, you know, that would be detrimental to anything. But I also have to save space for the people who think that way and love them too.
Absolutely. I love what you said about different enemies in their head.
Yeah.
Because I like to say enemy is your greatest enemy. It's very hard to get outside yourself. And a lot of people don't want to take the journey within themselves in order to come out.
I think you have to know that there's a journey, right? Like I'm really fortunate that I've had so many beautiful people in my life kind of show me that there was. And actually this morning, that's what I was writing down this morning. I was thinking about if you think something's your enemy, you're going to treat it like your enemy, right? That's why you can have some people who are afraid of bees and some people who aren't. Because to some people, bees are the enemy and some people they aren't. For some people, Black people are the enemy. For some people, they aren't, right? It doesn't make that the unchanging truth is that this is my skin color, right? But the enemy comes from the mind. So if you want to change the enemy, oftentimes, especially as humans, right? Killer whales don't have predators. Komodo dragons don't have predators, but humans have predators, and generally it's other humans. So you have to know this first, right? And then I think you approach it with a little bit of grace. I call it unconditionally loving conditional lovers. So if you have an enemy, that's not my enemy. If you treat me like an enemy, it's up to me to know that I'm not an enemy. Because that's how you stay unshakable in that particular instance. That's how you can get a comment that says something ridiculous and look at it and just pass it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, let me move into the action.
Okay.
You know, everybody loves the action, and you know, not since Tamara Dobbs. Cleopatra Jones, baby, have we had a presence like you have. So myself, been in martial arts for over 45 years. I'm a SAG-AFTRA stunt person myself.
Amazing.
So,
woo!
Thank you. So my question to you is about the training. Is there anything in your background that has prepared you for the physical aspects of the character?
Yes. So I am a dancer. I've been dancing since I was 7 years old. I went to LaGuardia High School actually for dance. When I got the role of Blackfire, first of all, I've always wanted to be in the superhero space. This is a space that I want to be in. This is a space that I want to grow in. This is the space that I want to dominate. So Blackfire was just a dream come true. But the first thing I did when I got the part was I had to know myself, and I had to know my ability, and I had to know that it's totally fine for us to always throw in our double, right? My double, Alima, she's amazing. But I really wanted people to see that you could be a superhero on and off the screen. And so I chose to train in the Brazilian art form of capoeira.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Blackfire to me is very much so, she's more lioness than she is bird, right? And so every superhero has a different animal, I would say, that's attached to them. So I wanted to give Blackfire something that was very slinky and very sleek. And the thing about capoeira, it's very low. It's very grounded. It's very to the earth, right? And my favorite part about capoeira is you don't have to throw a punch to win the fight. And I think that that's also something that Blackfire encompassed when you saw her. Sometimes she wasn't speaking, but you noticed her, right? And she was, even if she was in the background, you kind of noticed her. And that comes from that capoeira, that silent confidence that's in you. But my dance background really helped me. Larnell Stovall, who's our head of stunts, really came through with the capoeira. We had an amazing teacher named Shingu, who taught me the basics. And I've been dancing samba since I was 21. So the Brazilian music has always been in my body. And I also based Blackfire off of the Orishas. So she had all the elements in her. Dance to absolutely help me. But I also do Qigong. And honestly, the mind helped me more than anything, because it's the mind that's going to stop you from the training, right? So I would start my training days with some qigong, my breathing, slow down my breathing, and then get to work, because I really like the training part. But again, it's really important to me in the superhero space that, you know, Zoe Saldana was a dancer. It's important to me that they start to see more women with brown skin, with the leg up here, right? And so that if that's going to be my place, I will take it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. First of all, shout out to Alima Dorsey, one of our, you know, our old school day ones here at the Urban Action Showcase. You know, she does the Dawn thing all the time. Shout out to Larnell Stovall. We actually did a stunt performer showcase with him on Friday.
Nice.
Yeah, shout out to him. And I agree. Dancers are the easiest to work with for me when it comes to fight scenes and so forth, because you have all the elements already. You have the agility, you have the flexibility, you have the timing.
Right,
which is very important. People don't understand timing is key.
Well, that was the interesting thing for me. Brandon, who was actually on the ground with me every single day, there'd be some moves that my brain just wouldn't get. So instead of saying go, he'd say 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. So, and Alima did capoeira with me. Right. So months, even before the pandemic, we were training so that we could mirror each other. But yeah, timing is, I'm really fortunate to be a dancer whose first style of dance was African, because it'd be really different if it was ballet. Right. Yes. My first style of dance was me with a djembe in Brooklyn, dancing to West African dance. So I already kind of had that drum in me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. You know, I got to get to the nerd world order here.
Okay.
Now, you know, a lot of the nerd community believe that your character is stronger than Superboy.
Yeah.
So is she, and how do you feel about the fact that everyone in the community believes she is much stronger?
Yeah, that me and Josh go back and forth with this all the time. That's all we used to fight about on set. I believe that I am much stronger than Superboy, which is also why I was so that's why Blackfire was so shocked when he caught the knife, right? Because she's never been challenged with someone who wasn't afraid of her. And I think that that's kind of where the romance starts, right? It's like, oh, I'm not afraid of this girl. I can take her on. But there's also still this kind of cheeky thing that's like, actually, like, she's feisty. I'm a little bit terrified. That's where the chase comes in, right? But I absolutely think that Blackfire is stronger than Superboy. But also too, like, mentally, right? Like, technically he's less mature than Blackfire. But when he does that thing to my spaceship, I have the wisdom to not knock him out, right? And I think that shows strength. So, well,
I think you know that he ain't want you to go too. You know what I'm saying? You want to call him strength, but you know, we did a new edition. Please don't go, boy, instead of please don't go, girl. You know he ain't want you to go, girl.
I know.
That was real. That was diabolic, boy. That was diabolic. I didn't know he had it in him. I said, oh, I see you, baby boy. I see you.
I think it also shows one of those things, right? Especially in a material world, right? You get to a certain point where, like, you realize what's important. So in that moment, you've gone through the whole season. She's got family now. She's never had it. She's got a man. She's never had it. She's got all these things. What's a ship?
Right.
Right. So it's an interesting, that was a really interesting turning point, I think, for Superboy's character. But for her, I think that if that maybe would have happened in the beginning of the season, it would have been, we'd have been fighting.
It'd been on.
Yeah.
And that would have been the whole season, right? That fight right there been the whole season.
True.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So when it comes to the character itself, right? Do you believe she's an evil character converted to a good character in season 3? Or did you think it's more complex than that?
I think it's way more complex than that. I think Season 3 for her was more so two things. It was acceptance and ownership. Ownership and acceptance are kind of the same, but also too the ability to be wrong. Right? So yeah, at a certain point you got to accept that this is who I am. Right? And the thing about the Titans is they kind of accepted her as she is, right? Like she didn't have to change one bit in order. She didn't have to change her clothes. She didn't have to change her hair. She didn't have to change any of that. And I think I said that in the car with Superboy, like only thing I ever wanted was acceptance, right? So when it comes to if she is not evil, I think that evil is always going to be in her, right? It is a part of her. Now she just knows what the other side feels like. I always say in order to know love, you have to know pain. And in order to know pain, you have to know love, right? And that's why heartbreak sucks. Because they're two ends of the same coin. And so this was the season where Blackfire accepted, she wasn't apologizing for what she did to her parents, right? But she also had to accept that this is how they programmed me, this is how they trained me, this is who I am. And then she had to make a choice. Is this who I still want to be after I get all this information, right? So many of us get all this information about potential people we can become. And a lot of us don't do much with it because that would take work and time and effort, and that would take change, right? But everything in nature is changing every single second, every single day. It's the only thing that we're promised. It's a constant. So I think Blackfire, throughout this season, it took her a little while, but she started to notice that she could be herself and she could be accepted as this person who killed her parents, but at the same time came to Earth, took over a woman's body. I know everyone is still so distraught about that. I'm sorry, y'all. I needed a way in. I just needed a way in. Left the babies in the car. Blackfire now wouldn't do that though. She wouldn't.
All right. Well, as promised, from Women in Comics International, the Black Cape, I'm going to bring in my tag team partner here, Miss Jonita Davis, and I'm going to let her take it home for us. How you doing today, Miss Jonita? From the HCA Hollywood Critics Association. We appreciate you. We're glad that you were able to make it. We're on the last set of questionings, and I've been following the script as you have given to me, and I so appreciate it. And the answers, of course, were cerebral. You know what I'm saying? You know, in true Blackfire form. So, Miss Jonita, I'm going to let you answer or ask a few questions and do what you do best.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. The whole hotel internet went down. It was wild. Maybe a little Blackfire action. I don't know. Maybe.
Might have been me.
Huh? What was that?
It might have been me.
Oh yeah. See. I caught the answer to your last question about how she needed a way in, but she's a different Blackfire now. For you embodied this character that had this a rich, superhero with a very rich history. Story. What was it like for you becoming a superhero in the DCEU? I mean, like, yeah.
Well,
Are you? Yeah. What was it like for you? What was it like for you? Yeah.
So one of the things I say about myself often is Blackfire, I'm a superhero in my head. I've been a superhero in my head my whole life. And so Blackfire was a chance for me to share me with everyone else. And I'm really sensitive to practicing what I preach. And so for me, my main focus in life is the youth. I'm here. But my main focus in life is the youth. And if that's going to be my main focus in life, I have to ensure that the things that I do add up to the things that I do when I'm at home by myself. And so with Blackfire, I told the writers my whole story. I told the writers my traumas. I told the writers my history with my family, and I told them everything, and they used everything. So Blackfire is actually really, really close to a part of me that doesn't get to be shared often. I modeled for half my life. And so most of my life has been two-dimensional. And people who have never seen me before, I've been acting for 10 years, but anybody who's never seen me before, this being the first time that they get to see me, really got a nice glimpse into so many different parts of me. And so Blackfire really allowed for me to say, hello, everyone. This is who I am, but this is actually who I am. You know, the Senegalese twists in her hair weren't a coincidence, right? I spent a lot of time with Stacy, who did my hair, and Carol, who was a producer. And I thought about this. I wanted to show her scalp. We rarely get to see scalps on TV from brown women. When it comes to superheroes, I wanted to show her scalp. I wanted to show that we do multiple hairstyles. I wanted to show, not to say that that doesn't exist, right? Black Lightning, like there's so many different shows that exist, but for Titans specifically, I wanted to give Blackfire a little bit more of a realistic realism, but at the same time, you know she's an alien, right? And so we did that with the hair. It was intentional that I wasn't wearing any nail polish, right? It was intentional that I didn't have any tips on my fingernails, right? Because if I'm going to be doing capoeira, it's a difference. And also too, like, I'm a nerd. I'm the kid that didn't fit in. I'm a big nerd. I missed 4 days of school in my life. I'm a nerd. I'm literally in the middle of nowhere by myself. I'm a nerd. You guys are my community. So also for me, what was really healing for me is finally having a community, right? Because I was a model for so long, and that so much of that is what I should be doing. I'm a nerd. To have a community that embraces that is something that I cry about all the time, something that I could have never ever dreamed of the way it happened. But also too, like, also knowing that nerds are badasses. Like, I tell people all the time, I have a poem that says, nerds are the ones who write the codes for the way everybody else lives, right? No nerd, no cell phone. No nerd, no computer. No nerd, no nothing, right? And so I really also wanted to show that we can be hot and sexy and badass and all that other kind of stuff, but we could also be super smart and intellectual and insightful, and not to put nerds in a box, right? Like, there is no specific box. I wear glasses, yes, but that doesn't qualify for being a nerd. But I'm a proud nerd.
Y'all hear that? I mean, I hope everybody who's watching is like me, rejoicing as a blurred nerd. You know, she's one of us.
I am.
Damaris is one of us.
We also, I think what's important too is, like, especially with the times, right? Like, there's a big part of the. I always say no legend ever fit in, right? And so there's a big part of the community of kids that don't fit in, who we've been in hiding for a really long time. We're afraid of talking like this because somebody might say that we sound white, or we're afraid of not going to the party because we'd rather stay at home and watch Titans on HBO Max, right? There's so many fears that we have. And in order to, I would say, get over those fears, we need the nerds at the forefront. So to your point, Demetrius, like you saying I'm needed as soon as I got on, right? That's a thing that I don't take lightly, because it's something that I think is going to really make my career much more fun when, again, people know that I practice what I preach. So shout out to the nerds. We rule the world.
Absolutely.
We love you. We do. Now you have to. You just took my instrumental track away. I'm like, Blackfire is a blurred. Oh my God, this is like a whole nother dimension.
I'm a
whole nother dimension, but I can see it. So you say that, going back to you talking about how she's you poured everything you out to the writers and put yourself into this character. To me, she embodies so much of what we need in representation on TV right now, especially when it comes to action stars and superheroes. Do you think moving forward that this is what we need, just writers working with the actual character to make her as accurate and as representative as possible? And do you think that's possible in the Hollywood we have now?
Yes. I won't say which role I want, but there's one that I really, really, really want, and I've been telling everybody about it. But you guys can probably figure it out if you think about it. And the communication is always going to be the way to the next realm, right? And again, though, we have to take advantage of the time that we're in, where we have allies, right? Like. There's more of us coming out of the shadows, not being afraid to speak up. I've never been afraid to speak up, which is why I always get in trouble. But for me, I had to understand. There's a phrase that says, the quote, I don't know who said it, but it says, people can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. And so I don't live my life as anger, with anger being the guiding force, right? If I get into a room with a bunch of people who don't look like me, I'm not gonna be mad at that. That's my trigger that I have something to teach, right? That I might be the first person, right? That I might need to be in that room. And so when it comes to our stories, I'm from the Caribbean. My family's from St. Kitts, right? I was born in Brooklyn, but there's like 80,000 people in St. Kitts and Nevis, right? I'm not going to expect someone else to understand my culture. I'm not going to expect somebody who grew up in North Dakota to understand Brooklyn culture. I'm not going to expect somebody from Brooklyn to understand how to grow up in North Dakota. I'm not going to expect somebody who grew up on a farm to understand somebody who grew up in the city. So when you kill expectation, you can bring in fun. And so I don't use expectation when it comes to these universes. I understand that there's 3 of us on this call right now, but we all have different life experiences. We're in different places. We're different people. So when it comes to the universe, yes, I had so much success with Blackfire because of how much time I spent talking, right? I sent in a video of Sandra Bullock getting out of jail in Ocean's 8. And when she had on the jail jacket, and then in the next shot, she had on a Versace gown. And I was like, this is how I see myself going into Wayne Manor, right? Like, I just got out of jail. I like, no black girl's gonna walk into Wayne Manor with her hair not done. I can't walk in the Wayne Manor with the jail braids, right? So, but that's a cultural thing, right? And so I'm not gonna expect someone who has never seen that, who doesn't know that experience, to know that, right? And so I do understand that it's okay to be angry. It's totally fine to be angry. But there's, again, like we were talking about, Demetrius, there's certain enemies that are like legitimate enemies, and then there's just ignorance. And ignorance, unfortunately, I feel like in our communities, we've used as such a negative word. Oh, he's ignorant. Ignorant literally just means to not know. So I think our way forward, though a lot of people don't agree with me on this, which is fine, there's still more to teach. If we want to see things, we have to teach. I get a lot of people who say, we did that already. We did that in the 50s. We did that in the 60s. We did that in the 70s, but it's a new day. And I still understand that people just don't know. So for where I want to go in the superhero world, also it's nice to know that I got backup now, but where I want to go universally, globally, is being able to talk to the girl in Portugal and the girl in Brooklyn and the girl in China. And understand, and I speak Spanish, so like being able to talk to the Latin community. So many people in the Latin community who have my skin tone, right? And people don't even know that that's a thing. I go to Puerto Rico by myself every year. I love it. My name is Damaris. I take it, right? But I think it's educating ourselves and sharing that. I always say, listen, Prince, the singer, was my best friend. So I was his last dancer, and he was my mentor. But after he died, I just started saying, listen, learn, teach, repeat.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, learn it, teach it, and keep doing that over and over again. Also, be willing to be wrong, right? Like, be willing to be wrong. And I would say something, cancel culture is really interesting. And I said this last week to someone, but I'm starting to realize that a lot of cancel culture is a bunch of us who just got canceled by our parents. There's a lot of us who got canceled by our peers and our teachers and our parents and our friends and the people in our communities who we are outwardly projecting our pain, right? And so if this is how we run to the pain, I guess this is how we run to the pain, but you got to run to the pain. And you got to know it's pain. And so again, like, I just can't get mad at anybody for trying to better themselves or figure themselves out. But when it comes to the future of the universe's communication, it's gonna be the way.
Well,
Amazing.
on that note, first of all, I'm never going to cancel you. So you'll never be part of my. Listen, we would just have to do reruns. You know, that's what we're going to have to do. We're just going to have to rewind and rerun. Come on, touch two people. Rewind and rerun. But we're out of time. But I do want to thank Miss Damaris Lewis for her wisdom,
thank you,
her presence and her purpose with us today. Thank you, Jonita Davis, for coming through, and thank you for giving us those wonderful questions to ask.
Yes.
And to all the fans, please support Titans on HBO Max. Go watch all 3 seasons and get familiar and know why she is 2 words: badass.
Badass. I'll take it. Thank you. No, really, honestly, it means more than you know to have people excited about me, especially after the healing journey, right? That's always the scariest part about healing. You don't know if you're going to be alone when you come out of the other side of the awakening. So the fact that I can come out the other side and I have a community, it means the world to me. And we just getting started, so.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we'll hope to host you again soon.
Yeah.
In the near future, the very near future, like Scotty beam me up future.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So all the fans, please, everybody stay safe. We want to be able to see you in person one day soon. Until then, everybody, peace and blessings.
Thank you so much.